Get up, King.
Here. I was done what?
That's what I was doing, looking in the video. Get up, King. Right here. It's right here. Right here. Right here. Get up, King. Let's go, King. Oh. That's ugly. Oh, he went past me so fast. Please. Woo. Breathe, bro. Breathe, bro.
Come on, Keith. Don't stop.
Breathe, bro.
Don't stop.
Man, y'all know Keith, man.
Don't stop.
Y'all know Keith, man. Keith just got hit, y'all. Keith, man. Y'all, Keith, man. Keith just got hit, man. He breathing. Man, come on, Keith. Get up, Keith. He just got hit on his bike, man. Oh, man. Keith, man. Y'all know Keith. Come on, Keith.
Hunter Biden is the most protected person in the country.
This barely functional human who's got this roaring crack addiction and roaring sex addiction.
Leaving meetings every 10, 15 minutes, smoking crack, snorting coke or something, in the middle of negotiating some of these deals.
Tens of millions of dollars. It came from the Ukraine, it came from China, it came from Russian entities. And walked in a customer clutching 3 MacBook Pros. When I asked for his last name, there was a long pause and he kind of sarcastically added Biden. There is a massive amount of material here that's very damaging to Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Jim Biden.
It shows corruption at the highest level of the American government.
Breaking tonight, the third story in a row, there are new developments in the Hunter Biden email story.
When I got on the plane, I mean, I was running. I was afraid and I was scared and I left.
I probably said too much. The NSA will be on my ass.
Hunter Biden, the son of President Joe Biden, is both an enigma and an open book. He's published a revealing memoir. His shadowy dealings have been investigated by congressional committees. He abandoned his laptop with thousands of photos, videos, emails, and text messages that fill in the rest of his life from drug use, sexual depravity, and high-level wheeling and dealing, facilitated, as Hunter Biden readily admits, by the Biden name.
I think you have to begin the Hunter Biden story with the tragic passing of his mother in an automobile accident.
Hunter Biden has said his first memory is lying in a hospital next to his brother Beau after that December 1972 accident in which his sister also died. He was 2 years old.
Okay.
Both of them were in the hospital. Holding each other's hands. I love you, I love you, I love you.
Joe, at the time, had been elected. His seat was born in from his children's bedside.
He made the choice that he would go to Washington and take up this very big career in the Senate. It was a prize that he would not give up.
Joe Biden made the 3-hour round-trip commute between Delaware and D.C. His sister and mother took care of the boys during those long days.
He has said that people encouraged him and persuaded him that it was the best thing to do for his children. But if you listen to Hunter, he certainly, I think, missed the fact that he'd lost his mother and pretty much lost his father.
In his memoir, Hunter traces his woes back to the accident.
I don't see that tragic moment as necessarily resulting in behaviors that led themselves to addiction. That would be a cop-out. But I do have a better understanding of why All of my friends have always thought of me as a joke and the clown that Bo took care of.
And Hunter underscored a crucial trait that separated him from Bo.
The biggest difference between us, I drank and Bo didn't. The first drink I ever took knowing what I was doing, or more accurately, knowing what I shouldn't be doing, was in the summer between 8th and 9th grades. The troubling thing, looking back, getting blasted and sick as a dog didn't scare me or turn me off one bit. Instead, I thought it was kind of cool.
Meantime, his father won re-election in 1978 and 1984 with a lot of help from his family.
Joe Biden in all his political campaigns always emphasizes the fact that it's a family affair, that, you know, his sister is his campaign manager, that his brother's involved in fundraising. And that sounds like a great story, but the flip side of it is individuals are getting paid. Valerie Biden, his sister, who's run his campaign, has taken in millions of dollars in fees serving as his campaign manager. And let's just be clear, Joe Biden's re-election in Delaware is never really in doubt. So the simple fact is the Biden family became enriched through this arrangement that Joe Biden set up, spending campaign dollars and giving it to members of his own family.
As today, I announce my candidacy for President of the United States of America.
The 1988 presidential elections approached, and Joe, now 45 years old, was ready to reach for the brass ring.
I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship.
It did not go well.
I won the international moot court competition. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees.
He got caught lying about his academic achievements.
And I'd be delighted to sit down and compare my IQ to yours if you'd like, Frank.
He also got busted for plagiarizing a speech from UK politician Neil Kinnock.
My ancestors who worked in the coal mines in northeast Pennsylvania and come up after 12 hours and play football for 4 hours.
Is it because they were weak? Those people would wait for 8 hours underground, then give up and play football.
He had to apologize as well for stealing a speech from Robert Kennedy, word for word.
It doesn't measure the beauty of our poetry, the strength of our marriages, the intelligence of our public debate, the integrity of our public officials. Now to the tough part, my record in law school.
It was next revealed he almost got kicked out of law school.
I found that in his required paper in a course on legal methods, Mr. Biden used 5 pages of published law review article, without quotation or citation. That's precisely right.
Hunter says it was, quote, awful to watch his father become a national laughingstock.
There'll be other opportunities for me to campaign for president.
After Joe dropped out, a devastated Hunter even tried to punch out hecklers at a football game who taunted his father. That kicked off a rough high school senior year for Hunter. He went from, quote, drinking in earnest to using coke to being arrested for the drug on the Jersey Shore after graduation.
He had a cocaine bust when he was still in high school at the age of 18. That record was expunged.
This scrape with the law didn't scare the senator's son straight. He continued to use cocaine through college at Georgetown University. Senior year, he met Bicycles, a homeless D.C. crack dealer.
It was at the height of the crack epidemic in the early 1990s, and with a fledgling addict's wrong-headed sense of misadventure, I decided to see what all the hubbub was about. Bicycles then sold me what little crack she had on her and told me to get the hell out.
As you'll see, years later, when Joe Biden was vice president, Hunter sought out the still homeless Bicycles, and they moved in together. But back in 1992, after graduating from college, Hunter met Kathleen Buell at a Jesuit volunteer program. She got pregnant. After 3 months of dating, they wed in 93 before Maisie, their first daughter, was born. Meanwhile, Hunter eyed law school.
Hunter Biden wanted to go to Yale.
But perhaps not as much as his father, Senate Judiciary Chairman. Joe presided over the confirmation of judges who hailed largely from the Harvards, Yales, and Columbias. Author Ben Kramer reports Biden as saying there's a river of power that flows through this country, and it flows from the Ivy League. Yale rejected Hunter, so he went to Georgetown, but got into Yale the next year thanks, he claims, to a most improbable credential, his brilliance as a poet.
I applied to Yale again and included with my application a poem I wrote, something everyone discouraged. Yale's acceptance letter noted that my success and dedication during my first year of law school at Georgetown more than qualified me, but that my poem was unlike anything they'd ever received and earned me my spot there.
We tried to confirm this story with Yale, but they were unable to answer. Miranda Devine thinks there's a much more obvious explanation.
Assisted by his father's contacts, obviously, as with everything else in his life, to get into Yale Law School, and he didn't have the marks for it.
After law school, Hunter went back to Wilmington and scored a $100,000 a year VP gig with a big Delaware bank. That was a lot of money back then, even for a Yale law grad.
He took a job with MBNA, which is a massive bank in Delaware. They hired Hunter as a finance executive. He didn't have background in finance.
But MBNA was one of the largest donors to his father's 1990 Senate run, in which Hunter served as deputy campaign manager.
Hunter Biden's life has really been laid out for him by his father, who assigned Hunter the role in the family of being the bag man, the money maker. He was given these jobs with enormous salaries, well beyond his credentials.
You really can't find a case of any business venture Hunter Biden is involved in that does not revolve around his father's political power.
But you can find on Hunter's laptop evidence that through the years, Joe demanded a substantial cut of every gig his son got, and Hunter was at times resentful. For instance, this group text from 2019.
I hope you all can do what I did and pay for everything for this entire family for 30 years. It's really hard. But don't worry. Unlike Pop, I won't make you give me half your salary.
And in a predominantly incoherent email to his aunt, Hunter complained he had to pay off his brother's student loans.
Dad never paid one dime.
In 1998, Hunter moved to the Commerce Department in Washington. Then 3 years later, started a D.C. lobbying firm where he pocketed hundreds of thousands in consulting fees from MBNA, while his father pushed legislation that would make it harder for consumers to file bankruptcy.
In retrospect, wasn't it inappropriate for someone like you in the middle of office to have your son collecting money from this big credit card company while you run for protecting your interests? Look, the fact of the matter is that I have had an entire career that no one has ever questioned whether or not anybody has influenced me.
He became a lobbyist in a special area, which was getting sort of budget line favors for specific entities in the state of Delaware, where his father was the senior senator. So again, why is Hunter Biden in that position? I would argue because his father was the one who was going to make the decisions on who was going to get those carve-outs in pieces of legislation.
One thing that's not up for debate, Hunter, by then a father of 3 daughters, was also an alcoholic, though a functioning one, he insists.
I was a functional alcoholic. I always could drink 5 times more than anyone else, but now I was staying overnight, not making it home in time to take the kids to school in the morning.
He moved his family from Delaware to Washington in 2003, but kept drinking until he landed in rehab.
I admitted myself into the Crossroads Center, a residential rehab program in Antigua, founded 5 years earlier by Eric Clapton. I stayed there for a month. It worked.
Meantime, Joe became chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and his family's business went international.
The Biden family ambitions go from Delaware and some of these other deals to this massive global enterprise that incorporates the far corners of the planet.
In 2006, while Hunter was still heading his lobbying firm, he also joined forces with Joe's brother Jim to purchase a New York hedge fund called Paradigm Global.
Why people believe that Hunter Biden, with no background in finance, and James Biden, with little background in finance, could run a hedge fund, who knows?
Whether K Street lobbyist or Wall Street money manager, the pitch was the same. They were selling Joe. Charles Provini, who James and Hunter recruited to serve as the fund's president, said both repeatedly cited Joe's political ties. Don't worry about investors. Jim Biden reportedly bragged to another executive. We've got people all around the world who want to invest in Joe Biden.
And that's, I think, a further indication that so much of the family's wealth is tied up with the political fortunes of Joe Biden.
For better or worse, it seems, Hunter and Jim's hedge fund turned out to be a flop. So did Joe Biden's next run for president in 2008, which infamously began with a cringe-inducing compliment to the new kid in the race, Senator Barack Obama.
I mean, you got the first sort of mainstream African American who was articulate and bright and clean, nice looking guy. I mean, that's a story.
Biden finished with less than 1% in the Iowa caucuses and dropped out. Obama, upon winning the nomination, tapped Joe as his running mate.
The next Vice President of the United States of America, Joe Biden.
The Obama administration was on board for Joe, with one exception.
When Joe Biden is chosen to be Barack Obama's running mate, the Obama team lets it be known that they do not think it's good that Hunter Biden is a lobbyist.
The biggest issue that they had with Joe was these sort of grace and favour jobs that Joe had organised for Hunter and Hunter's lobbying and how he was influence peddling in Washington. And they wanted to, go into office or win an election as a squeaky clean team. So Hunter was asked to step away from lobbying.
Hunter quickly found a new career path, and with his father officially vice president, he was seeing money like never before.
Hunter Biden gets together with a couple of old college friends, Devin Archer and Chris Hines, who happens to be the stepson of Senator John Kerry. And they decide they want to start a new financial firm that's going to specialize in private equity.
The three of them together started a company called Rosemont Seneca. The fact that they are the stepsons of people in the administration, powerful Democrats in Washington, certainly was the basis of their business. The sorts of doors were open to him that Goldman Sachs would kill for.
Hunter and Hines exchanged emails in which they fancied themselves a real-life James Bond, Jason Bourne duo sitting down with foreign oligarchs. Robert Davi is the director of My Son Hunter.
With a variety of nefarious people.
Every famous, infamous international person who came to Washington, D.C. and met with his father, Hunter generally got an introduction.
Foreign oligarchs and foreign governments are currying favor and getting favors from the most powerful family in America, which is the Bidens.
In his memoir, Hunter Biden claims he stayed sober from his first rehab stint in 2003 until his father's second year as vice president in 2010. By that time, Hunter was trotting the globe and tempting fate.
You find yourself flying home from a business trip in Madrid on the red eye. Overworked, sleep deprived, no exercise in 3 months. You're grateful when a flight attendant stops by your seat and asks, as she has asked everyone around you, if you'd like a drink. Without hesitation, without the answer is unanswered. You're off to the races.
Hunter would be off to the races for most of his father's career. In our next episode, the Ukrainians are in, the Secret Service is out, and the son of the vice president descends into a debauched world of crack cocaine, parades of prostitutes, and stink to high heaven financial deals with odious oligarchs.
If this shit is crazy, let me know. This shit is wild, yo. We just getting started. Look at this crackhead. It's your president's son. Da. Fucking junkie. Let me stop.
You're about to hear a story that would be hard to believe if it didn't come straight from Hunter Biden himself. Texts, emails, raunchy photos, and rambling voice memos. You can't sink this low and not have any repercussions without a lot of help. And Hunter Biden got plenty of it from people who had a lot to gain through knowing his father.
All right, let me see something.
If his relapse started with booze, it quickly escalated to include extended crack binges and sex marathons with multiple prostitutes, many of which he memorialized on pictures and videos on the laptop, which, as you'll see, a number of investigators have concluded is genuine. The Bidens haven't denied it is, and Hunter himself has conceded there is a possibility it could be his.
All right.
Honestly, babe, the problem is you have too many girls there. I understand you like a lot of girls, but that's fine to do one at a time. At the tops, too.
Is that?
Hunter's debauchery would last years and be funded by foreign oligarchs who calculated the vice president's junkie son had plenty to offer them. But the cash pouring in wasn't enough to meet the needs of the rest of the Biden family, who sent Hunter invoices to pay big and small. For instance, an email titled JRB Bills detailed Hunter was paying hefty tabs to keep up his father's Delaware mansion. In one payment cycle, $1,239 to the builder, $1,475 to the painter, $2,600 to the contractor, and $475 for shutters. Fortunately for the Bidens, Hunter's raging drug and alcohol addiction didn't scare away powerful business suitors. Just the opposite, it seems.
latch on very quickly to China. Everybody knows that to do business in China, it's based on political connections, not just connections in Beijing, but the connections you have in your own country. It's about having what they call guanxi, which is sort of, are you juiced in? And it's hard to find a small firm that is more juiced in than Rosemont Seneca Partners. In 2010 and 2011, Hunter Biden starts taking trips to Beijing, China.
After one trip, Hunter enthusiastically emailed his Chinese host.
You are the best. Just give me my marching orders.
They're not meeting with low-ranking people. They are meeting with the sort of top tier of Chinese finance. This is a small sort of rinky-dink financial firm that's only been in business for 18 months. And yet these doors magically open.
The magic word was Biden, as Hunter confirmed in an email to his business partner, Devin Archer.
It has nothing to do with me and everything to do with my last name.
In May 2013, Vice President Joe Biden pulled strings to get his 43-year-old addict son an unlikely commission in the Navy.
One of the most curious stories about Hunter Biden that we know of is that he actually tried to enter the Naval Reserves at a fairly old age. He got an exemption in order to be able to enter, got another exemption because he had had a drug issue in his past. But connections help, and with Biden, his father being vice president, he's able to get in.
We have a lot of bad judgment in my family. My son, who's over 40, just joined the United States Navy. He's about to be sworn in as an officer. Hunter Biden.
Like Hunter's Yale law degree, his military service was a credential his father was quick to boast about. Too quick, it turns out.
Hunter doesn't even make it through his first weekend in the Naval Reserve. He's caught in a drug test with cocaine in his blood. He makes up a cock and bull story about how he was outside a bar the night before and someone handed him a cigarette. It must have been laced with cocaine.
But a never-released statement drafted on his laptop, presumably, is closer to the truth.
Yes.
After 10 years of sobriety, I relapsed at possibly the most inopportune time. The guilt and shame I have felt over letting my family down was indescribable. I sought an age waiver at 42 years old to serve in the U.S. Navy. I dishonored that great privilege, and for that, I am deeply ashamed. But I also know that I cannot allow one moment in time to define me.
Hunter's brother Bo, a vet who served in Afghanistan and then became Delaware's Attorney General, brought him home from the base. Bo was seen as a future Senate candidate. Joe believed he was presidential timber. But dreams of Biden political dynasty dashed 2 months later when Bo received a death sentence diagnosis. Brain cancer.
Yeah,
Biden prayed for a miracle,
yeah,
but also got
it
back to business. In December 2013, Hunter flew to Beijing on Air Force Two after his father was picked to be President Obama's point man on China.
It's not just Joe Biden bringing his son along because he likes him and he wants to chat to him on the plane. This is American power come to do business. Hunter Biden is recognized as a princeling. This is a unique creature in China. Instead of giving the money directly to the minister, to the person in charge, you give it to their son, their grandson, their wife, a relative. Hunter Biden was brought there openly as Joe Biden's representative.
We do know that during this visit that Hunter Biden introduced his father to one of his Chinese business partners.
And then within 10 days of them returning to the United States on Air Force Two, one of the big deals for Hunter Biden gets closed. It's called Boei Harvest. It's $1.5 billion private equity deal.
Peter Schweitzer believes China got its quid pro quo when Joe Biden pushed questionable policies favored by Hunter's business partners.
In that December 2013 trip, they're pressing him to take a very hard line on the South China Sea, on trade issues, on human rights. He's decidedly not hardline. He's very soft. And I would argue that aligns very, very nicely with the fact that his son is trying to finalize this deal in Beijing with an entity that is connected to the Chinese government itself.
Around that time, Hunter forwarded Devon Archer a New York Times article titled, "Biden May Take on Expanded Role in Foreign Policy in Second Term," and added the comment,
"If we can't figure this out, we should be shot."
"7 months later, in July 2014, Hunter returned to rehab, this time in Tijuana, Mexico,
For the
where he
1,000th
was
time,
treated
Hunter
with
goes to
toad
rehab.
venom. He
this
claims
week's
it kept
intervention.
him sober for a year. Around that time, he gave up Secret Service protection, though it is unclear how many of Hunter's foreign escapades Secret Service did attend, as the agency has redacted records about Hunter's travels to countries like Russia, China, and Kazakhstan. Regardless, an international man of mystery forged ahead and found another source for big bucks, thanks to a lucrative energy deal in Ukraine.
In the spring of 2014, Hunter Biden strikes up this relationship with Burisma, which is this corrupt Ukrainian energy company that involves Ukrainian government officials and very corrupt oligarchs. They want a relationship in Washington, D.C., and they look to Hunter Biden.
It
I
just
thought
so
Ukraine was the
happens
good guys.
the vice president was also overseeing foreign policy in Ukraine.
Joe Biden is kind of the administration's point person. And then within a 1 month period of time in 2014, Joe Biden meeting with Hunter's business partner, Devon Archer, in the White House, going to Ukraine. Within a week or so, Devon's on the board, Hunter's on the board.
Chris Hines had no interest in being involved with Burisma, and I think it's evidence of the fact that the son of a powerful political figure, John Kerry, realized how far gone Hunter Biden was prepared to go, and it was too much even for Chris Hines.
We reached out to Chris Hines for a statement. He claims he left Rosemont Seneca after being alarmed by his colleagues' quote, lack of judgment. Emails from Hunter's other business associates suggest they were aware of the relationship's liability.
Stress reputational risk. Stress zero policy on using names that are not ours in direct reference. Explain less overt role you will play relative to me, front man, particularly in elections.
Burisma, even among a bunch of companies that have reputations for corruption, it really has a reputation for that. So getting these Rosemont Seneca guys on their board was a huge coup for them.
Burisma was quick to tout its new relationship.
Hey guys, there's apparently a photo of Devon and the VP on Burisma's website. Dimitra, VP counsel, called and asked that we tell Burisma they need to take it down. Legally, they aren't comfortable with VP's picture being up on the site as what seems like an endorsement.
It was politically risky for the son of a vice president, but the money was good.
Joe Biden knows exactly what's going on. He wants plausible deniability, but he also knows this is a way for his family to become fabulously wealthy.
American studies have shown that you might expect to get about $55,000 to $60,000 a year if you are serving on a board of a company about Burisma's size. By contrast, the Burisma board pay was $80,000 a month.
To hear Hunter tell it, all that cash was less a blessing than a curse.
Burisma turned into a major enabler during my steepest skid into addiction. The board fee had morphed into a wicked sort of funny money. It hounded me to spend recklessly, dangerously, destructively, humiliatingly. So I did.
He spent it on crack, expensive sports cars, hotel suites, room service, prostitutes, and various hangers-on who ran up his credit cards. To see the images and videos,
Your daddy's
read
small
the
crack
emails and
box.
texts. You should gravely doubt Hunter Biden was in any condition to legitimately earn the money from Burisma.
He's someone who couldn't even answer his own emails, couldn't even hold down a job at McDonald's, and yet he was traveling around the world having these sort of high-powered meetings and having deals thrust in his lap. So this was the life that he had while his father was vice president, and Joe Biden was assisting at every stage.
Assisting Hunter and Hunter's business partners.
Burisma's owner, a guy called Nikolai Zlochevsky, who was in a lot of trouble internationally. There were various inquiries into the theft of billions of dollars from the Ukrainian treasury. His assets had been frozen. Now, he needed protection, and Hunter Biden was his protection.
In an email on the laptop, a Burisma board advisor asked Hunter to use his influence to stop prosecutions.
We urgently need your advice on how we can use your influence to convey a message, signal, etc., to stop what we consider to be politically motivated action.
Lo and behold, when the chief prosecutor of Ukraine, a man called Viktor Shokin, started to investigate the corruption at Burisma and seized all the property of the owner of Burisma, Zlochevsky, all his mansions, his Rolls-Royce Phantom car, and so on. Shortly after that raid, Joe Biden became really insistent that the government of Ukraine had to sack Viktor Shokin, the chief prosecutor, or he would withhold $1 billion of aid.
Joe Biden would later brag about what he did in classic Biden fashion.
The president said, I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours. I looked, I said, we're here in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
But at the time, the Obama State Department found the whole episode highly problematic.
We had testimony from the State Department, George Kent, just the appearance of the conflict of interest. And it was a conflict of interest. It was very awkward for U.S. policymakers whose primary goal was to help Ukraine rid itself of the legacy of corruption.
There were many people sounding the alarm about Hunter Biden serving on this board while Joe Biden was the point man on Ukraine and corruption. So the idea that Joe Biden would be the one person in Washington, D.C. who didn't know that this was a concern really doesn't stand up to scrutiny.
While they talk about Trump,
the money kept pouring in, as the laptop confirms.
In 2014, your taxes reported $847,328 in income, to be amended at $1,247,328. In 2015, your taxes reported $2,487,208 in income.
It fueled Hunter's drug benders, captured by ever raunchier sex tapes and selfies. A different kind of snapshot was prized by his business associates in far-flung locales. One with the Vice President of the United States could confer legitimacy on a corrupt oligarch or other shadowy character, while Hunter occasionally brought clients to the West Wing and the Vice President's residence, an off-site meet was a safer bet. Case in point, a 2015 dinner at Cafe Milano, a DC power scene. Joe's appearance was strictly hush-hush.
Dad will be there, but keep that between us for now.
He had people, including a Burisma executive and his father, Vice President Joe Biden. There's photographic evidence. There were emails sent from the people who were at the dinner thanking Hunter for arranging it, thanking him for allowing them to meet with Vice President Biden and how helpful that was.
A month after this dinner, Beau Biden lost his battle to cancer. On the way home from the funeral, Hunter mused to his wife Kathleen that maybe it was his time to run for office. Dumbfounded, she shot back, "Are you kidding?"
I underestimated how much the wreckage of my past and all that I put my family through still weighed on Kathleen. We didn't say another word to each other for the rest of the ride. Or really, ever again.
But Kathleen would call him out in emails on the laptop.
You're not okay. My gut is you've been using this entire time. You're still projecting on me, denying what's really going on. And so far as I can see, not working on sustained sobriety.
With his marriage unraveling and a brother who had just died, Hunter did something that appalled the entire Biden family.
He then embarked fairly shortly after the funeral on an affair with his sister-in-law, Hallie Biden. His wife, Kathleen, at the time suspected something because he was spending all his time in Hallie's house, the house of his now deceased brother, looking after, he said, her children and helping her in Wilmington, Delaware.
Kathleen soon learned Hallie wasn't the only one. Her husband's philandering had apparently been going on for years.
His name was leaked in a hack of the Ashley Madison sort of adultery site. And he lied again about that and said, no, it wasn't him. And he said, well, I was hacked by the Russians.
Kathleen emailed Hunter she wanted out.
I'm leaving you because you're having an affair. And you've been emotionally abusive. See, you were surprised by my asking for a separation and needed time to process it. I was surprised when I found your bottles of Viagra and Cialis. I was surprised when I found airline purchases and jewelry purchases.
Let's take this back one time for the one time.
Kathleen emailed Hunter she wanted out.
I'm leaving you because you're having an affair. And you've been emotionally abusive. See, you were surprised by my asking for a separation and needed time to process it. I was surprised when I found your bottles of Viagra and Cialis. I was surprised when I found airline purchases and jewelry purchases. I have woken to my reality. No one should be treated the way you've treated me. I won't take it anymore.
Despite that, in another email, she also told Hunter,
you are a better father than your dad. I know you love your dad, and I do too.
Hold on.
But he wasn't perfect.
He's a better father than his dad. What kind of piece of shit is Joe?
Being a dutiful daughter.
Better father than your dad. I know you love your dad, and I do too. But he wasn't perfect. You were better in every way.
Being a dutiful daughter-in-law, Kathleen offered to delay the divorce until Joe decided whether he'd try to succeed Barack Obama as president.
Bo is our inspiration. Unfortunately, I believe we're out of time, the time necessary to mount a winning campaign for the nomination.
In October 2015, Joe announced he wouldn't run.
Hunter spent the last year of his father's vice presidency on a nonstop cross-country booze, crack, and sex marathon that left him and his family scrambling for money. With the cash run out,
he was in rehab.
Vice presidency on a nonstop
for the nomination.
In October 2015, Joe announced he wouldn't run.
Hunter spent the last year of his father's vice presidency on a nonstop cross-country booze, crack, and sex marathon that left him and his family scrambling for money with the cash run out. And what would happen when it did? That's coming up in Who is Hunter Biden, Episode 3.
It was a marathon, all right. It was a marathon. Look at this crackhead. What in the Pornhub? What in the soft white underbelly? This is your president's son. I can't. I can't. Da, 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 da. She said, "You're a better father than Joe." I said, "What the hell is Joe? If you've been smoking, does Joe do meth?" If you're a better father than Joe, what is Joe doing over there? Hold on, y'all. Oh gosh. We back. We back. We back like cooked crack. We back like Hunter cooked crack.
When Joe Biden announced he would not run for president in 2016, everyone assumed his long political career had come to an end. The question for Hunter Biden, who relied on leveraging his father's positions, was how would he fund his family obligations, high-flying lifestyle, and relentless addiction? As his father embarked on his last year as vice president, Hunter holed up in his D.C. apartment. He was an utter basket case.
He spent extravagantly on strip clubs, adult video sites, and prostitutes. Like a low-rent porn star.
Little baby ain't got shit on Hunter. Let's go, Hunter.
On strip clubs, adult video sites, and prostitutes. Like a low-rent porn star. He frequently filmed his wild sex life and uploaded the footage to his Pornhub account.
I'm past the glow, I'm covered, I'm sunning from head to toe. I ain't noticed, except like POTUS. And I said, oh,
But he claims he cleaned himself up whenever business called.
At the moment, you can do crack around the clock every day and still make your meetings sometimes, still return your calls sometimes, still pay your bills sometimes. It just is astounding.
You can do crack around the clock?
Meetings every 10, 15 minutes, smoking crack or doing some snorting coke or something in the middle of negotiating some of these deals.
One only wonders if
Joe must be so proud. You must be so proud, Joe.
Still pay your bills sometimes.
Himself up whenever business called.
At the moment, you can do crack around the clock every day and still make your meetings sometimes, still return your calls sometimes, still pay your bills sometimes. It just is astounding. He was leaving meetings every 10, 15 minutes, smoking crack or doing some snorting coke or something in the middle of negotiating some of these deals.
One only wonders if influence seekers plied him with drugs. Hunter writes of trying to keep it together at a May 2016 Burisma board meeting in Monte Carlo, only to be offered cocaine in a nightclub bathroom he couldn't resist. Upon his return to D.C., he's seen Burisma
I hate when that happens when you go to the bathroom just to pee and they offer you crack in there.
Cocaine in a nightclub bathroom he couldn't resist. Upon his return to D.C., he sought his old crack dealer, bicycles, from his Georgetown days. She moved in and taught him the finer point of crack paraphernalia, a rose pipe, and chore boy steel wool. She stayed 5 months and taught him
Look
her
at
to
the
DC.
skills
He sought
that
his
your
old crack
president's
dealer
son can teach
bicycles
all of us.
from his Georgetown days.
And then bicycles.
She moved in and taught him the finer point of crack paraphernalia, a rose pipe, and chore boy steel wool. She She stayed 5 months. They spent their days on the couch, smoking, quote, a ton of crack.
For endless hours, day after day,
Smoke a
it was
lot
the
of
same.
crack.
They spent their days on the couch, smoking, quote, a ton of crack.
For endless hours, day after day, it was the same numbing ritual. Over and over and over. Pipe, shore boy, crack, light, pipe, shore boy, crack, light.
In October 2016,
What'd you do all day, Hunter? What'd you do?
Over and over and over. Pipe, shore boy, crack, light, pipe, shore boy, crack, light.
In October 2016, Hunter resolved to fly to Arizona for rehab. But after missing 4 flights, smoking crack, he decided to drive.
I drove through the night, finally stopping in Nashville a few hours after sunrise.
Don't you hate it when you can't get to rehab because you're busy smoking crack?
Shore boy, crack, light.
In October 2016, Hunter resolved to fly to Arizona for rehab. But after missing 4 flights, smoking crack, he decided to drive.
I drove through the night, finally stopping in Nashville a few hours after sunrise. I checked into a hotel and smoked away the rest of the day. By nightfall, I realized I was already running low on drugs. I rummaged through my car seats and floor mats for crumbs.
Look, you must
Then drove
be
off
a
sometime
mind
around
reader.
midnight.
So how'd you know he was going to be smoking crack while
I
you
drove through the
drove?
night, finally stopping in
How'd you
Nashville.
know?
Rehab. But after missing 4 flights, smoking crack, he decided to drive.
Oh, you ain't got shit on you, Hunter.
Finally stopping in Nashville a few hours after sunrise. I checked into a hotel and smoked away the rest of the day. By nightfall, I realized I was already running low on drugs. I rummaged through my car seats and floor mats for crumbs, then drove off sometime around midnight to score more. By now, I possessed a new superpower, the ability to find crack in any town at any time, no matter how unfamiliar the terrain.
After 4 days of smoking crack in his Tennessee hotel room, he finally boarded a flight to Phoenix. He made it as far as his layover in LA, but again skipped his connecting flight to smoke crack. That binge lasted.
You guys see the moral of the story?
How unfamiliar the terrain.
After 4 days of smoking crack in his Tennessee hotel room, he finally boarded a flight to Phoenix. He made it as far as his layover in LA, but again skipped his connecting flight to smoke crack. That binge lasted 6 days. At 4 a.m. on October 27, the sitting vice president's son finally headed out to Arizona in a rented Lincoln Town car. He almost didn't live to tell about it.
Let's guess, he smoked crack.
I nodded off behind the wheel. Waking up an instant later, I found myself in midair, the car having jumped a soft curve on the passing lane and soaring at 80 miles an hour into a cloudless blue sky, heading into the gulch that divided I-10.
He somehow made it to a nearby Hertz and got another car to drive the rest of the way. He left a rental car that had drug residue in it, his brother Bo's attorney general badge on the dash, credit cards, identification. Nothing happens to him, though. He has close associates in the Secret Service who help take care of some of these issues. Some of those close associates, Hunter once told a friend, were agents who owed a debt to his father.
Guy said he got their daughter in.
You see how this goes? They a tag team duo. They like John Gotti and John Gotti Jr.
Hunter once told a friend, were agents who owed a debt to his father.
Guy said he got their daughter into the Naval Academy, that he had to the VP residence and let them use his apartment to stay and cost the White House. Guys he paid their health insurance premium for anonymously. All those guys, they were made aware I was around. They were supposed to look out for me.
Rattled by his near-death experience, he summoned his brother's widow, Hallie, to be by his side. He tried to keep their relationship out of the papers, but the New York Post now had the story. Biden family affair, the headline said, but the relationship was far more sordid than that.
Nothing's sacred anymore.
The romance consisted of taking drugs, filming themselves having sex, then posting the videos to Hunter's online porn account. Hunter
What a
filmed
family.
his
What a
family
family.
affair, the headline said. But the
Joe must be so proud.
Testosterone levels are declining, but you're not allowed to notice
Oh, shit. We good. I'm up here getting my flex on. I can't be doing all that.
The payday vanished as his bills piled for office. Dumbfounded,
shit.
Ukrainian energy company that involves Ukrainian government officials and very corrupt oligarchs. They want a relationship in Washington, D.C., and they look to Hunter Biden.
It just so happens the vice president was also overseeing foreign policy in Ukraine.
Joe Biden is kind of the administration's point person.
Small firm that is more juiced in than Rosemont Seneca Partners. In 2010 and 2011, Hunter Biden starts taking trips to Beijing, China.
After one trip, Hunter enthusiastically emailed his Chinese host.
you are the best. Just give me my marching orders.
They're not meeting with low-ranking people. They are meeting with the sort of top tier.
But the
hold on, y'all. I can't be skipping shit. This is too good for all that shit. I ain't gonna fuck around with rewinding this shit. I just can't help myself. This is too fucking. It's like the best shit I ever seen. Yeah, I can't get away from that part with the sister, y'all. This nigga is fucking his sister-in-law and his dad's house smoking crack on our goddamn money. I just, Here we go. This is about right, This how this nigga look all the fucking time. Imagine if this was one of us. What would Joe do? Look at the passes Hunter gets. My God. Hunter selling babies, spleens, kidneys, guns, meth, fentanyl, weapons, secrets. Oh, shit. This is not me. This is the fucking, this shit is long. That's just how it is. We still getting warmed up here. I probably ain't gonna show the whole shit tonight, you know what I'm saying?
You're about to hear a story that would be hard to believe if it didn't come straight from Hunter Biden himself. Texts, emails, raunchy photos, and rambling voice memos. You can't sink this low and not have any repercussions without a lot of help. And Hunter Biden got plenty of it from people who had a lot to gain through knowing his father.
If his relapse started with booze, it quickly escalated to include extended crack binges and sex marathons with multiple prostitutes, many of which he memorialized on pictures and videos on the laptop, which, as you'll see, a number of investigators have concluded is genuine. The Bidens haven't denied it is, and Hunter himself has conceded there is a possibility it could be his.
Honestly, babe, the problem is you have too many girls there. I understand you like a lot of girls, but that's fine to do one at a time. At the tops, too.
It's a possibility.
Hunter's debauchery would last years and be funded by foreign oligarchs who calculated the vice president's junkie son had plenty to offer them. But the cash pouring in wasn't enough to meet the needs of the rest of the Biden family, who sent Hunter invoices to pay big and small. For
Look
instance,
at this shit.
an
The
email
whole
titled
family is a crime family.
JRP Bills detailed Hunter was paying hefty tabs to keep up his father's Delaware mansion. In one payment cycle, $1,239 to the builder, $1,475 to the painter, $2,600 to the contractor, and $475 for shutters. Fortunately for the Bidens, Hunter's raging drug and alcohol addiction didn't scare away powerful business suitors. Just the opposite, it seems.
They latch on very quickly to China. Everybody knows that to do business in China, it's based on political connections, not just connections in Beijing, but the connections you have in your own country. It's about having what they call guanxi, which is sort of, are you juiced in? And it's hard to find a small firm that is more juiced in than Rosemont Seneca Partners. In 2010 and 2011, Hunter Biden starts taking trips to Beijing, China.
After one trip, Hunter enthusiastically emailed his Chinese host.
You are the best. Just give me my marching orders.
They're not meeting with low-ranking people. They are meeting with the sort of top tier of Chinese finance. This is a small sort of rinky-dink financial firm that's only been in business for 18 months, yet these doors magically open.
The magic word was Biden, as Hunter confirmed in an email to his business partner, Devin Archer.
It has nothing to do with me and everything to do with my last name.
In May 2013, Vice President Joe Biden pulled strings to get his 43-year-old addict son an unlikely commission in the Navy.
One of the most curious stories about Hunter Biden that we know of is that he actually tried to enter the Naval Reserves at a fairly old age. He got an exemption in order to be able to enter, got another exemption because he had had a drug issue in his past. But connections help, and with Joe Biden, his father being vice president, he's able to get in.
We have a lot of bad judgment in my family. My son, who's over 40, just joined the United States Navy. He's about to be sworn in as an officer. Hunter Biden.
Like Hunter's Yale law degree, his military service was a credential his father was quick to boast about. Too quick, it turns out.
Hunter doesn't even make it through his first weekend in the Naval Reserve. He's caught in a drug test with cocaine in his blood. He makes up a cock and bull story about how he was outside a bar the night before and someone handed him a cigarette. It must have been laced with cocaine.
I forgot we passed this.
But I never released
so oh my God, damn it. Oh,
a role in foreign policy in second term.
I can't.
And very corrupt oligarchs.
Oh gosh.
I'm just kind of
Times for his statement. He claims he left Rosemont Seneca after being alarmed by his colleagues' quote, lack of judgment. Emails from Hunter's other business associates suggest they were aware of the relationship's liability.
Stress reputational risk. Stress zero policy on using names that are not ours in direct reference. Explain less overt role you will play relative to me, front man, particularly in elections.
Burisma, even among a bunch of companies that have reputations for corruption, it really has a reputation for that. So getting these Rosemont Seneca guys on their board was a huge coup for them.
Burisma was quick to tout its new relationship.
Hey guys, there's apparently a photo of Devin and the VP on Burisma's website. Dimitra, VP counsel, called and asked that we tell Burisma they need to take it down. Legally, they aren't comfortable with the VP's picture being up on the site as what seems like an endorsement.
It was politically risky for the son of a vice president, but the money was good.
Joe Biden knows exactly what's going on. He wants plausible deniability, but he also knows this is a way for his family to become fabulously wealthy.
American studies have shown that you might expect to get about $55,000 to $60,000 a year if you are serving on a board of a company about Burisma's size. By contrast, the Burisma board pay was $80,000 a month.
To hear Hunter tell it, all that cash was less a blessing than a curse.
Okay. All right.
Burisma turned
The way home from the funeral, Hunter mused to his wife Kathleen that maybe it was his time to run for office. Dumbfounded, she shot back, "Are you kidding?"
I underestimated how much the wreckage of my past and all that I put my family through still weighed on Kathleen. We didn't say another word to each other for the rest of the ride. Or really, ever again.
But Kathleen would call him out in emails on the laptop.
"You're not okay. My gut is you've been using this entire time."
Be close.
Unraveled. In a hack of the Ashley Madison sort of adultery site. And he lied again about that and said, no, it wasn't him. And he said, well, I was hacked by the Russians.
Kathleen emailed Hunter she wanted out.
I can't get to
I'm
the part
leaving you because you're having an affair.
it's so fucking
And you've been emotionally abusive. See, you were surprised by me asking for a separation and needed time to process it. I was surprised when I found your bottles of Viagra and Cialis. I was surprised when I found airline purchases and jewelry purchases. I've woken to my reality. No one should be treated the way you've treated me. I won't take it anymore.
He's a fucking porn star.
Despite that, in another email, she also told Hunter,
"You are a better father than your dad. I know you love your dad, and I do too, but he wasn't perfect. You were better in every way."
Being a dutiful daughter-in-law.
All right, I'm gonna stop bullshit. Here we go. We at it now. It's about to start at the right spot. Yo, I watch this nigga all day, yo. This is the best fucking episode that I ever uploaded. This is making that shit and ghetto fire shit. And this is the fucking president, yo. Don't blow. Here we go.
When Joe Biden announced he would not run for president in 2016, everyone assumed his long political career had come to an end. The question for Hunter Biden, who relied on leveraging his father's positions, was how would he fund his family obligations, high-flying lifestyle, and relentless addiction? As his father embarked on his last year as vice president, Hunter holed up in his D.C. apartment. He was an utter basket case.
He spent extravagantly on strip clubs, adult video sites, and prostitutes. Like a low-rent porn star, he frequently filmed his wild sex life and uploaded the footage to his Pornhub account.
Y'all niggas ain't fucking with Hunter.
I didn't notice. Except like focus. And I said,
But he claims he cleaned himself up whenever business called.
At the moment, you can do crack around the clock. Every day, you still make your meetings sometimes. You still return your calls sometimes. You still pay your bills sometimes. It just is astounding.
Businessman by day, crack monster by night.
Smoking crack or doing some snorting coke or something in the middle of negotiating some of these deals.
One only wonders if influence seekers plied him with drugs. Hunter writes of trying to keep it together at a May 2016 Burisma board meeting in Monte Carlo, only to be offered cocaine in a nightclub bathroom he couldn't resist. Upon his return to D.C., he sought his old crack dealer, Bicycles, from his Georgetown days. She moved in and taught him the finer point of crack paraphernalia, a rose pipe, and chore boy steal wool. She stayed 5 months. They spent their days on the couch, smoking, quote, a ton of crack.
For endless hours, day after day, it was the same numbing ritual.
Look at him.
And over and over. Pipe, chore boy, crack, light, pipe, chore boy, crack, light.
In October 2016, Hunter resolved to fly to Arizona for
the good old
weekend.
days.
But after missing 4 flights, smoking crack, he decided to drive.
I drove through the night, finally stopping in Nashville a few hours after sunrise. I checked into a hotel and smoked away the rest of the day. By nightfall, I realized I was already running low on drugs. I rummaged through my car seats and floor mats for crumbs, then drove off sometime around midnight to score more. By now, I possessed a new superpower, the ability to find crack in any town at any time, no matter how unfamiliar the terrain.
It's like a
After
superpower.
4 days of smoking crack in his Tennessee hotel room, he finally boarded a flight to Phoenix. He made it as far as his layover in LA, but again skipped his connecting flight to smoke crack. That binge lasted 6 days. At 4 a.m. on October 27, the sitting vice president's son finally headed out to Arizona in a rented Lincoln Town car. He almost didn't live to tell about it.
Finally.
I nodded off behind the wheel. Waking up an instant later, I found myself in midair, the car having jumped a soft curve on the passing lane and soaring at 80 miles an hour into a cloudless blue sky, heading into the gulch that divided I-10.
How'd the car do that?
He somehow made it to a nearby Hertz and got another car to drive the rest of the way.
He left a rental car that had drug residue in it, his brother Bo's attorney general badge on the dash, credit cards, identification. Nothing happens to him, though. He has close associates in the Secret Service who help take care of some of these issues.
Some of those close associates, Hunter once told a friend, were agents who owed a debt to his father.
Guy said he got their daughter into the Naval Academy, that he had to the VP residence and let them use his apartment to stay and cost the White House. Guys he paid their health insurance premiums for anonymously. All those guys, they were made aware I was around. They were supposed to look out for me.
Rattled by his near-death experience, he summoned his brother's widow, Hallie, to be by his side. He tried to keep their relationship out of the papers. The New York Post now had the story. Biden's family affair, the headline said, but the relationship was far more sordid than that. The romance consisted of taking drugs, filming themselves having sex, then posting the videos to Hunter's online porn account.
Hunter would film their sex sessions and upload them to amateur porn sites such as Pornhub and give them titles as Lonely Widow. There was a lot of love and, I guess, passion and lust there as well that they talked about, but it really was disastrous for everybody involved.
Texts capture the horror the family felt. In November 2016, Hunter's sister Ashley scolded Hallie in a family group chat that included Joe and Jill.
You will pay for sitting around while watching my other brother kill himself. Everyone is talking about Hunter making scenes at restaurants. People are worried. You are the problem. This isn't love. This is my brother. Hi.
You want me to come over? Do you want to use it? Not because you want me to
I want to use regardless, but I would rather use with you and have sex with you all night.
It was viewed with horror by people even within the family.
Nevertheless, Hunter asked his father to come out in support of the couple.
Hunter pleads with them to put out a statement saying that they approve of it so that it doesn't
Come
look
on, Joe.
worse than it
Support
already
the
is.
incest. Support the incest, Joe.
If people find out but they think you're not approving of this, it makes it seem wrong. Kids have to know that there's nothing wrong with this. And the one person who can tell them that is you.
a reluctant Joe complied.
Sisters being together.
We're all lucky
Come on,
that
Joe.
Hunter and Hallie found each other as they were
When you gotta
putting
say
their lives
technically
together again
in the
after
same word as
such
incest, I'm not
sadness.
fucking with you.
They have mine and Joe's full and complete support, and we are happy for them.
In time, the relationship grew nasty.
I think we should schedule a visit
I didn't
and
fuck
we'll
that
talk with
dog.
the therapist.
I mean,
We're going to
technically,
continue to argue, and I don't want to talk and make things worse.
Hunter writes that Hallie told him his brother Bo didn't think highly of him and laughed behind his back. While Hunter's private life was running wild, his bank account was running low. Burisma cut his compensation in half.
Please find the new direction agreement for execution. The only thing was amended is the compensation rate. I'm sure you'll find it both fair and reasonable.
Reasonable for most, but not for Hunter. He scrambled for more cash.
Once Joe Biden leaves the vice presidency and he's a private citizen, Hunter Biden continues with the deals in China. One of them involves this entity called CEFC, where Hunter Biden's going to get an ownership stake.
Hunter wasn't the only family member expecting his own slice of the pie.
Very interestingly, as the laptop reveals, 10% of the ownership of this entity is going to be reserved for the big guy, which is Joe Biden. So you have this circumstance where Joe Biden, recently leaving the White House, is going to be getting an ownership stake in a company that is controlled by a Chinese oligarch who's close to the intelligence services, who's close to the national security state in China. And it's an indication that Hunter Biden was really the stalking horse for the Biden family when it came to these deals in China. Once Joe was out of public service, out of the White House, now he could get a cut of these deals himself too.
A hell of a lot more than $850 per year. And this is my own personal problem, but I'll make it yours also, I'm sure. $2 million to me means $1 million before taxes. The other half goes to her, Kathleen. $850 to me means $100K to me. She has $750 floor. That does not include all the debt I assumed, and not one dime for the girls. 2 Ivy League school living expenses and the most expensive high school in D.C.
The laptop records show that an avalanche of people constantly asked for money. His ex-wife, Kathleen, turned up the heat on him.
Our credit is a mess because of you. You have completely ruined your own credit and mine. You. So are you ever going to pay your bills? Pay my parents back, the lawyer, the accountant? You're a joke. You can't stop talking to the girls about money. How you're broke because you gave me all the money. Laughable.
Eventually, Hunter cut a deal with the Chinese. For introductions alone, they would pay him $10 million a year for a minimum of 3 years and a 3-carat diamond ring to boot.
You've been given this diamond in exchange for forming this relationship with these Chinese communists.
Hunter immediately went on a spending spree. According to credit card statements, nearly $22,000 for menswear, $3,000 per night hotel suites, and $12,000 at Larry Flint's Hustler Club. By this point, the once handsome Hunter was looking the part of a crack addict, rotting teeth and all. They'd cost him nearly $70,000 to fix. But dealing with corrupt foreigners had its risks.
The deal is about to come down. Then a senior official at CEFC named Patrick Ho gets arrested on bribery charges in New York. And it blows up the entire deal because CEFC is now in the crosshairs of the FBI.
The payday vanished as his bills piled up, including $57,000 for Hallie's rehab in Malibu in late 2017. Around this time, he was fooling around with a DC stripper who called herself Dallas.
Shit, Hunter.
This relationship would complicate his life further though few were paying attention to Hunter's affairs, sexual or financial.
When my book first came out in 2018, I had reporters tell me, oh, this is very interesting stuff, but, Joe Biden's not in office anymore, so it's no big deal.
Joe Biden, however, was thinking of running again, and the family worried Hunter might spoil the 76-year-old's last chance. He and Hallie were now living in a $5 million waterfront rental home in Annapolis, and according to this February 2018 text from Ashley to Hallie's sister Liz, openly and notoriously using drugs.
Have you ever seen a crackhead ball
This is all
like
getting out
this?
of control. Just came from meeting with police chiefs, and dealers are known in community. Not a good look for the widow of Attorney General. Enough is enough. I was down at the beach and I can promise no one was getting healthy. They left all their drug crap out. She is the Attorney General's widow and he is the Vice President's son. If you think that people don't already know everywhere that they are addicted to crack, etc., you are naive. When you deal with drug dealers, the likelihood of plates being run is high. My dad may run for president, and if you think this shit is going to fly, shit will hit the fan. The whole town knows, as do many others. They aren't very discreet, and people are mean. And let me tell you, they are beyond messy. They left all their drug paraphernalia for my parents to see.
Ashley apparently didn't know Hunter's relationship with Liz had also turned sexual. He paid her rent, bought her panties, and sent this steamy text.
We should shower together by FaceTime every morning or night when we're up at 3. Stress relief. I'll teach you how to masturbate.
By 2018, Hunter Biden is just off the rails. All his Chinese deals have started to fall apart. So he heads off to LA to shadow for just a non-stop bender.
The Chateau Marmont has a storied history.
Cousin,
Comedian John Belushi died of an overdose in Bungalow 3. Hunter was also up to no good in his $850 a night room.
That guys that would cook the crack for him. And then he learned how to do it himself because it was more efficient.
He also toyed around with the idea of writing a book. In June, he jotted down some possible titles.
A Crackhead's Guide to Hotel Etiquette. Or Why Crack Cocaine is Better for You Than Vodka, but Not as Fun as Crack and Vodka. Or Why Crack Cocaine and Air Travel Are Easy.
Augie got shit
From the
on
Delta
him?
Shuttle to Air Force One.
At least it
Is this
seemed
one fucking your head up right
like
now?
history.
What
As
talking
Hunter
about
waited
Trump?
for his Porsche 911 to arrive from D.C.,
Ass out.
he rented a $650 per day Lamborghini. Spent $1,000 on the sex cam site Streamray. He partied like there was no tomorrow, then started again the next morning.
I'd get down on my hands and knees and scan the floor and comb through the rug with my fingers. Half the time, I had no idea what I was picking up. Is this a flake of Parmesan from the cheese platter we ordered last night? Or crack? It didn't matter. I smoked it.
But it couldn't last. His bank kept alerting him that he topped his $65,000 credit limit, and he apparently paid an escort with his father's card.
He was
Also, Joe's buying hookers
with
too.
a professional lady, shall we say. At the end of their little adventure, Hunter Biden owed this lady an additional $8,000, more than the cash that he'd already paid her. He handed her a debit card. She swiped it. It appeared not to go through. She said, here's another one. Try this. They went through 5 of those, $8,000 each time. Didn't work. Finally, on the 6th one, it went through. A couple of hours later, while she's at home, ding, 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 ding. Her computer lights up. The 5 transactions that they thought didn't go through went through. So she reaches out and calls Hunter Biden and explains, remember those 5 transactions before they went through? And he starts to get nuts because he mentions to her, some of that money is my dad's. These are all debit cards in the name of Hunter Biden.
You done paid $175,000 for a $20 hooker.
A retired Secret Service agent texted Hunter from downstairs.
H, I'm in the lobby. Come down.
5 minutes.
5 minutes pass. The agent pings again.
Come on, H. This is linked to Celtic's account.
Celtic was Joe Biden's Secret Service code name when he was Veep.
DC is calling you every 10. Let me up or come down. I can't help if you don't let me, H.
I promise. Be right down. Sorry.
5 minutes later, another former agent arrives.
He's going to the front desk. Call and tell them to give us a key now, H. As your friend, we need to resolve this in the immediate. Call the front desk now, H, or I'll have to assume you're in danger and we'll have to make them give us the keys.
9 minutes pass.
Really, I'm coming down right now. I really promise. Who's in the bathroom, buddy? I'm coming right this second.
We're at your door, open it.
So we have the special agent in charge of the Los Angeles office of Secret Service confirming that one of those debit cards is Celtic's, Joe Biden.
Even the legendary Party Hotel had seen enough.
He was kicked out of the Chateau Marmont because of the amount of partying that went on.
Should I take it as a badge of honor?
Hunter may have worn the eviction as a badge of honor, but he was less than honorable when Dallas, the stripper, notified him she was carrying his child.
Reached out a few times. It's clear you don't want to be reached. Need to talk to you.
She gave birth to Hunter's daughter, Navy, in August 2018. At the time, Hunter was living in a $16,000 a month Malibu home, spending his days smoking crack and patronizing prostitutes. He denied paternity. But he was still feeling constant pressure from Biden family members looking for a handout, expressing to a friend a woe is me resentment of his departed older brother.
You can't
On
make
October
this shit
12, 2018, Hunter went back to Delaware and bought a .38 caliber revolver. Hallie apparently thought he'd try to kill himself, threw the gun away. Hunter told his friend, sometimes therapist and one-time Fox News contributor, Keith Abloh, about it.
Did I tell you what she did with my 38? I freaked when I saw it was missing 10 minutes after she took it. And when she went back to get it after I scared the shit out of her, it was gone, which led to state police investigating me. True story.
Another true story. Hunter swore on a federal form that he wasn't a user of illegal drugs, even though there are photos of him smoking crack days before. Secret Service agents tried to take possession of the federal form.
This is why he just got indicted,
gun shop owner refused.
He lied on the form for the gun.
This barely functional human who's got this roaring crack addiction and roaring sex addiction. It's just a very bizarre scenario, considering that you have to juxtapose that against the really high-level, dangerous business that he was involved in.
Hunter flew back to LA while he viewed himself as a functional drug user. His uncle and business associate, Jim Biden, knew he had big problems. Jim traveled west to book Hunter in an exclusive detox center with a pool, hot tub, gourmet meals, massages, and yoga classes. Again, it didn't take. So that fall, Hunter returned east to try a program in Massachusetts. It also didn't work. He drove up and down I-95 and for the next few months lived in a series of cheap hotels with easy access to dealers and prostitutes.
Let me guess, doing crack.
During that time, he exchanged a series of texts with Abloh, joking about what they called Joe's dementia. In one, Abloh suggested a theme for a 2020 presidential run.
Any man who can triumph over dementia is a giant. Perhaps he can help us remember all we intended to be his people, since he can now remember his address.
He doesn't need to know where he lives, Keith. That's the only thing the Secret Service gets right, at least 75% of the time.
During that time, Hunter recorded a rambling call in which he seems to fantasize about scuttling his father's White House ambitions.
Joe
I am the boy no one knows but fears. You do not know me. You do not want to know me. You will never know me if I so choose. All I am is feared and loathed, as I carry the load of every single sin and venal act. You think that you see me, but you do not. You think that you hear me, but you will not. You think that you love me, but you do not. I am all that is combined in the things you fear most. You think you understand my threats, but you do not. You think that I am silent and sullied and uncertain, but I am not.
Joe Biden could count on the support of the media and other members of the establishment for his run for president, but Hunter Biden was a huge problem.
Hunter deliberately sabotaged his father's presidential dreams? He was certainly angry over a February 2019 column about the troubled Hunter.
Your team just made me the uncontrollable, troubled, tax cheat, philanderer, sex and drug addict that you tried so hard to fix but couldn't. If you don't run, I'll never get a chance at redemption.
All right,
Give us some feedback.
I need you.
And I'll be back with part 2.
Before Joe's big presidential announcement, an intervention for Hunter backfires. That's episode 4.